Well, greetings to everyone around the world, and welcome to our July 2016 episode of the Mozilla Curriculum Workshop. I'm Chad Sansing, one of your co-hosts and a curriculum developer with the Mozilla Foundation. Today, we're going to talk about brokering web literacy learning around the globe. What does it look like to network youth and learning opportunities where we live and work? Before we meet our guests, we're going to take a minute to go over a few little details that should help the show run smoothly for everyone. So first, if you or someone you know is having difficulty with the video stream on our YouTube channel or on the workshop landing page, please just try to reload the page and that should refresh the video. Please also let us know who you are and what you have to say. If you could name yourself on the Etherpad below this video feed, that would be great. One place to do it is at line 13 of the Etherpad itself in the roll call, and you can also name yourself over to the right in the chat roll. If you haven't done that yet, if you look at the top, there'll be a colored box next to the word unnamed, and that spot is saved especially for you. Also, audience members, this is a participatory webcast, so please do add your ideas, questions, and responses, both to the chat, but also on the Etherpad itself. About halfway through the show, we will switch from talking to prototyping and making some learning resources right on the Etherpad that will help us broker learning on and through the web, and we'll need your help then too. We want that work to matter and last beyond the broadcast, so your participation is just vital. Please don't hesitate to let us know what you're thinking, and please help us shape today's discussion and prototyping. And now for introductions, I'm going to turn things over to my co-host, Amira.
Thanks, Chad. Hi, everyone. I'm your other co-host, Amira, and I also work for Mozilla. And I'm excited to introduce our three speakers for today's call. So we've got Chicago, Cape Town, and India in the house. Three exciting different speakers that are going to share their perspectives on what they do. So I'm going to jump on in and introduce them as if they are straight in the pad. So Brenda, you are up first. Could you just tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, and what you do to connect youth to opportunities to learn the web?
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Brenda Hernandez at the Chicago Hive Learning Network. I'm the new recent portfolio strategist. So I've been a week on the job. And my background is in informal learning. I was for a long time at Yollocalli Arts Reach. There's some information there on that Springboard Exchange link. And there I helped lead the development of programs that supported sort of experiential learning practices around the arts and digital media in the urban areas of Chicago. And so by experiential, we mean sort of based on the Homago practice. There's a resource at the bottom of our guidebook of our kind of the YOLO way. And so Homago is it's based on the research that Mimi Ito did on how youth explore the internet and the web. So they hang out, mess around, and geek out. So we kind of took that idea and placed it into a real life environment. And so that's sort of the background I'm coming from throughout this conversation.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Brenda. It's so nice to have you here, and I think we're going to be hanging out, messing around, and geeking out as well. So I'm glad you brought Homago into this. Next up, Maki. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how you connect youth to learning opportunities around the web. Oh, Maki, I think you might be muted. Make sure you switch off the mute when you're talking. There you go.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Maki, and I'm based in Cape Town. My day job is that I teach ICT to young students at a local university. And through Mozilla, through my role in the regional coordination, I get an opportunity to extend these skills and opportunity to young women and girls around Cape Town. And so my role is essentially to start and coordinate clubs around South Africa, but mainly in Cape Town, where we kind of create a safe space that allows young girls and women to get the skills and resources that would probably be only accessible to university students, and also creating a space where young girls can talk about women-related issues, but linking it back to allowing them to participate and be consumers and producers of the web, as we say in Mozilla.
Nice. So by day you're a teacher, by night you're a superwoman, pretty much.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you, Maki. Arko, last but not least, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you do to connect you to learning opportunities in your local area.
Yeah, hello everyone like across the world. So, well, this is something like every Mozillian actually waits up for, like attending a like Mozilla curriculum workshop. Yeah, so well, I started off as a club captain, like for in my college university itself, and then slowly tried to like reach out to the other college nearby, and then now like covering by setting up Mozilla clubs, holding campaigns, initiatives across the country. So we are doing really great. Like I have a team to work with, like they are motivating enough, like, and they really help me a lot. So digital literacy in India, like it's something, it's the rate is like around 8%, because when you call about a country where people still wait for like government to supply them food and all. So yeah, definitely for that, as a student or like university student, so it's our responsibility. It's a lot. So everyone, it's about Mozilla aims to like read, write, and participate on the web. So it's about making people not just getting accustomed to events, campaigns, make people realize why web is important, why make a participation in web is important. That of family of a farmer or like maybe of a billionaire. So we make it important. Like why important? What is the importance of web literacy? So that's what we did during our campaign Hello Web. We covered like almost 4 cities. This is the second time in December. Glad to get support all the way from Mozilla for this community spotlight and everything over Twitter and social media. So I'm really glad to be a part of this, like, and leading it, of course.
Arko, we are so glad that you are here as well. Unfortunately, the internet gods are not in our favor, and that was breaking up a little bit. And I really don't want anyone to miss more of Hello Web. So if it was also breaking up for you on the other end, please do go to line 41 in Etherpad. There is a link to more about Hello Web and about all the work Arko is doing in India. And we're going to try to combat the internet gods and go past this Wi-Fi issue. And Arko, we might have to try face muting or doing some other things so we can make sure that you are fully audible and clear to everyone on the call, because you've got a lot of great points in there. So thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're excited to get this call started and talk more about how we're brokering the web and what we're going to do to get learners engaged and interested, and what does actually brokering web literacy mean. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it to Chad, who's going to get us rolling with our first question.
Thank you. Those are awesome. Thank you for being here, guests and audience members. So we're talking about brokering learning today. And when you broker an opportunity, you show a learner kind of why a topic or an event might be relevant to them, and you help them take advantage of it. So you help remove barriers to participation for those youth. So what I'm really interested in hearing about from all of our guests who have all done this work is, could you tell us a little bit more about the kinds of web literacy and other learning opportunities you broker for your local youth, but also kind of give us some of the steps you undertake or your best practices for creating connections between different members of your network who might be offering programs, between youth in those networks, and from youth to youth in cases of youth leadership. Just how do you make it work? How do you broker learning connections in your communities? And anybody can jump in and start.
Well, I think for us here in Chicago and basing Homago practices as our sort of central guiding work, I think it's important to sort of meet the youth where they are first to gain trust, and then move forward from there based on what that person needs to feel successful at that point in time. Sometimes it may be easy resources for like a project, and sometimes it may be resources for their life outside of our program. And I think especially youth really become very connected to the programs that they're in while they're young. And so many times opportunities outside of that sort of comfort zone seem very daunting. So I think the first step is trust, and then sort of meeting them at where they're at instead of programmers trying to push a certain agenda. You know, it's like any mother and child, if the mom's like gushing over the kid too much, the kid's going to push her away. So I think that's sort of one of the first things to start at is with trust.
So my perspective from the way our clubs are run in terms of brokering is that the first thing when choosing club captains, we decided to go with club captains who come from the same communities where we wanted to reach out to. So these would be club captains that probably the young girls in that community would probably trust and look up to and see kind of a reflection of themselves. And most of these club captains, all these club captains are graduates within the university. So having the club captains standing up from the very same community, and the club captains helped us choose the communities that we can go in. So we basically said that to them, tell us about your community, what are the challenges in your community, and can we go back to your community and help other children overcome the challenges that you overcame for you to be where you are. So in essence, creating that platform of trust, building on to what she just said, of using the very same people from that community to reach out to them, and using the platform and the opportunities that we have by partnering with NGOs and local communities to also bring in successful people from the same community who can speak to them about the benefits of all the opportunities that we have. And so in terms of running clubs, one of the things when I'm helping the club captains and sometimes coming in to run sessions is that I try to use contextual problems and situations to relate technology and ICT back to their lives, which makes it much more easier for them to be able to relate and understand and also have an interest to see how it benefits them.
Thank you. Arco, would you tell us a little bit about how you brought people together around Hello Web? Like, how did you create that community over distance?
Okay, so basically we have been like me and my mentor, Mr. Sreesh Narayan Kutti, like he has been helping me to set up clubs like in various schools and colleges. So our main motive was not just setting up club. Yeah, we did conduct events, web literacy events, where yeah, we did not concentrate basically on the number of students coming up for the event. We tried to create an impact, and yeah, we made programming easier. Yeah, maybe we use some games to teach a particular line of code, or because like everyone in a like maybe in a fifth standard grade student, he would be like, okay fine, programming is all about like black screen, but then yeah, there's something okay I can introduce with the help of maybe games. So those things we try to focus on. Okay, encryption, we can have some games on it. So those things we tried, because we did not focus on basically like taking up sessions by giving up presentations and all. We tried to more about reach out to the students and understand what is something that they actually research. Our campaign main motive was like, okay fine, everyone should be ready to use the web. They're not supposed to, we are not someone like we do a product or marketing of the participation of web. We are out there to make people realize, okay fine, this makes your work easier. That's what our entire team actually tried to do through this campaign. And definitely yeah, numbers, it turned up. So it was something like we are glad that people turned up for our event. And we focused on basically on the orphanage students, because that's a grade of students where getting where people actually introduce the web, they get accustomed to the web. So those things we actually focused on throughout this Hello Web campaign, and that's how we reached out to the entire crowd.
Sorry, unmuting there. Thank you. Yeah, that's a campaign we're all kind of eager to follow and see how it evolves, along with the work around the world going on with clubs. This is fantastic, and some of the themes that are coming up, the trust building, community building, it seems to be happening in each of these places, and very valued by you and your work. So, super heartening to hear. Amira, do you want to ask the next question?
Sure. Those answers were really great, and I'm still processing them in my mind. I just want to pull out something that Arco said, and he said this, and I think a couple of you were also alluding to this, but to see how the web can make your life easier. I really like that sentence, and I really like taking that lens onto learning and kind of seeing when you're brokering with youth and individuals as a whole, like how can the web make their lives and their interactions and their daily things like change for the better and improve and make it easier for people to grasp and know things. So I actually really like that, and that's kind of sticking with me. But I will shift on to the next question, and I will do a shout out that if anyone in the chat or watching live has any questions, to please drop them in the Etherpad. So if there is line 74, 75, and down, we are looking for live questions, and we encourage you to ask live questions. So if anything sparks an interest, or you're asking about anything specific, please do drop it there. On to our next question. So how did you become a broker for web literacy learning? So what are the important experiences and lessons you learned that help you do this work or could help others do this work? So really looking at the juice of what really got you to this work and what could help others actually fulfill this role similar to yourself. I see a lot of pondering minds.
Okay, I'll start. So as I mentioned before, because I am a teacher, I always found that skills of technology extend beyond just the course that I teach, and they could be used by many other communities who can really benefit from this. And so how I got into this brokering was by grabbing the Mozilla opportunity and extending it to schools. And so we started going to different schools and telling them about the different benefits of technology and asking them to give us an opportunity to speak to parents, give us an opportunity to speak to the young girls and the teachers to see the benefits of this. And basically that's how we started, because our first access and point of call was schools. We said, okay, so schools have these resources of space, because that's usually one of the biggest challenges, space. And so how can we use these resources of space to benefit the people who we want to get these benefits? And that was like one of the first ways that I went around brokering, but mainly it was influenced by my day job of teaching, seeing that, oh, we've got this opportunities and skills. How do we extend them to the greater community that would otherwise not know and realize the benefits?
I think for me, I also have a background in teaching. I was a high school art teacher for a couple of years, and you know, I think that background, you always sort of are thinking, how do we best prepare the younger people for their own futures? It's not necessarily for our futures; it's for theirs, and how so that they're successful in their own lives without their allies there with them all the time. And as somebody that's, you know, we're older, the youth were born into this sort of web world and they don't even realize it. And I think for me it's been important to sort of figure out how we get them to become a little bit more conscious of their sort of digital lives that they were born with. We chose to design our digital life. Most of us were born at that cusp where it's like, do we want to join this thing? It's like, yeah, okay, cool. And I think youth now didn't really have that option. They were born with a digital sort of step. And so how do we have them become more conscious and proactive in that part of their life outside of their real world?
I think we got our first project idea out of that one. Argo, do you have any ideas? How did you become
Yeah,
into this? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So like, if you talk about like ideas regarding this, how we can actually improvise this web literacy brokering. Well, to be very frank, like we have forums like Discourse and all, like where people can actually share up their ideas. People can actually do community discussions or something, which is a community forum. But then, well, I was actually wondering about like planning something like we can have something like a wall where we have two sections, which in which like you have the section like what we can offer, where you get the club leads, where the club leads gets an opportunity to answer to the thrown up questions from across the globe. Let that be from the club captains or the club leads or some anyone. Okay, so those questions can be like regarding the Mozilla, how to set up or any kind of library which anyone requires while taking up a session or something. So those things can be added up to the database because those are queries which actually club leads or the club captains face problems. So students can actually get used to that. Like they know, like if I'm taking up a session, let that be on maybe encryption. I teach a particular topic in some way. So that topic gets used up by the other Mozillians also when they take up a session, if they find it cool enough. And in a similar way, that way, like we can actually share the database of every kind of projects or whatever we do. Because in case we need to know about what a Mozillian has done, we need to go to his Mozillian profile, search about his blog history, to read about his entire how the entire event has actually been done. So that becomes a tough process for a new Mozillian. So this can actually be a like query section where any Mozillian can request for PPTs or any kind of topic demos by senior Mozillians. So that adds up to any newcomer who is, and that's something like which could add value proposition to this Mozilla structure, club structure actually.
Nice, thank you. It was really great to hear a little bit more about everyone's backgrounds in those questions. I see we've got some different backgrounds, teachers, non-teachers, but a lot of unifying around teaching youth specifically how to do this in the local communities, which is nice. Chad, do you want to start on question number 3?
Absolutely. Let's see. I'm kind of torn between a planned question and then there was another question from the audience for Arco that might be interesting to ask everybody. So maybe I'll try to combine them a little bit. So all of us face kind of local challenges and opportunities for brokering this kind of learning. But we do it so that we can help people make these discoveries, you know. Oh, this is happening in my digital life. This is how it makes things easier. Can you describe or talk about a time when you kind of approached one of those barriers or challenges and like you saw someone having that aha moment? What are some of those first moments when you know as a broker that what you're trying to do, the opportunities you're trying to connect, it's working? How do you know if it's working?
I would say for me, it's been when they sort of use that same method to, or to remind me of a certain process or tool. You know, it's like the learner becomes the teacher. I think that's always the sort of the ultimate goal in anything, and especially, you know, with the web, as much as we can learn, the youth do have the ability to learn it even faster because they're just sponges. So I think for me, you know, that's when it's working. It's when they're able to sort of become successful and then share that success with others, including that person that sort of guided them along the way.
I think from my experience, the first challenge experience that I'll talk about is brokering when coming to looking for spaces, and the second one is like when I visit the different clubs and listen to the club captains as they try to kind of facilitate the clubs. So in one of the schools that I went to, and we went to the school principal and said that this is a project that we'll be working with girls, and he was like, when will you get a project that works with human beings? And so I made it a task that I go back and compile statistics of the different opportunities that are there for men and the differences in salary scale and how there's such a need of young girls with the skill. And that was like his aha moment to realize why girls related projects are important, and also showing him that the space is more of a safe space. It goes beyond just the skills gain. And that was like his aha moment, even though he still had reservations. So the second one was visiting the clubs, and they were explaining a certain concept of email. And the girls who were in the club couldn't like get it. And so I started off talking about the postman and the posting system and how the postman delivers all this post, and if their address is not right, it's not going to get there. And then the girls, and then I started relating it back to the technology, and they were like, so if this is not punched in right, that means that the email is not going to go through. So trying to use those like daily examples, linking it back to the technology. And that's like the fulfilling part of seeing their aha moment. And those were my main two experiences.
Those were amazing and very concrete and spoke really well to both kind of mentor-mentee, but also peer-to-peer learning. Thank you. Arco, do you want to talk about some of the first learning moments you've seen with Hello Web?
Yeah, see, challenges and opportunities in a country like India, it's a developing country, right? And the web literacy is like around 8%. Like that rate of web literacy, it's roughly 8%. So that internet in this country has not reached every hook and corner of the city of the entire country. And like out here, the entire government is like still keeping the main concern is out here is like alive and the healthy and internet is definitely not the main concern out here. So in situation like this, definitely for the youth to turn up and we do have in the country like motivate out as a motivation, definitely. So because they are the ones who can actually take up this kind of initiatives, and they have dedication enough, which is the biggest strength definitely for the country to take up this kind of open source goals, like taking up this kind of initiative about web literacy campaigns. So in that way, definitely it was challenging enough in a country like India to take up this activities and this kind of campaigns.
Well, thank you. We are about halfway through, so I think it's about time to shift towards
I think Chad might have just dropped. It's quite a dramatic pause and drop by Chad. So what he was going to say was that when we reach the half, we're going to shift now to the project and prototyping part of the call. So if you drop down to line 90, we've got some ideas on projects or prototypes that we can create together during the call. Some that have just even been thought about while people were talking, or that we're leading from the conversation. If you are watching us live or you are in the chat, please do jump in and drop any more notes. I'm not sure if any of our speakers on the call have any ideas. There's some up there. There's lots dropping in. All right. Does anyone else have any ideas? We've got how do we get youth to become more conscious of their digital lives? And that was something we picked from what Brenda had said. I'm going to skip the what do the internet gods look like, because I will visualize them for you on my own time and share back my imagination of the internet gods. Ways to upload effective demos and sessions through adaptation, uptake, and use by others. Ooh, Chad, if you're back on, you might need to explain that one a little bit more. And it looks like we've got a lot of other text coming in here from Arco. And I'm reading it through right now. Chad, are you back?
I think so.
Okay, I think so too. Do you want to explain more of what you put onto line 93 while we give people a couple moments live to add their ideas and any other prototyping suggestions they might have in the pad?
Absolutely. And this was something I thought of while listening to Arco. So creating, and it could just be steps here, right? It doesn't have to be a platform or anything. But what would be a process for club captains, for youth leaders, emergent leaders, to attend a training session or watch a web literacy training session online, and then if they saw an activity, they're like, oh, that activity is great, that will be a hit where I am as well. I'm going to take that, I'm going to adapt it, remix it, use it. How would they let us and the community know? Like, how would we record their vote or their vouching for that activity as, kind of like a greatest hits of web literacy teaching and learning? So it would be coming up with some steps and maybe thinking about a platform through which people could maybe not just read, but maybe see or experience more of the web literacy activities in action, and then have a way to record whether or not they wanted to take one forward as a way to kind of upvote that activity and put it front and center somewhere for community members to see, so that when they first arrive and they're like, what should I use? How can I teach the web? These really popular tested activities could kind of rise to the top.
I get you now. I mean, I've always gotten you, but I get you now. Yeah, Twinkle means I agree. All right, we've got some action in the pad. If you are joining us live, give us like a hells yeah, a yes, or a +1, or a heart, whatever it is, besides some of these ideas you like. We're getting lots of comments in there.
I think how do people feel about that first one, thinking of ways to help youth become more conscious of their digital lives? It's gotten a lot of love.
I think it's gotten some +1, some love, and some yeses, so that fit all criterias.
Sweet. All right. Well, so in the interest of time and getting this prototype out, something we can look at and build together, audience members build with us, and share back out to the community, let's head down to like line 103 and go ahead and start putting our ideas there. So these could be, this can be a brainstorm about ideas. How do we do this? This could be resources we would include in a guide to helping people help youth become more aware of their digital and online lives. This could be particular like steps. If you want to like describe an activity and then start breaking out the steps, that would be fine too. But let's go ahead and build something at line 105 now. And as that's going along, if you have more questions to ask, put them in the chat or the pad, and we'll keep some conversation going while most of us are prototyping. All right? So I have a question as we start to build there. And this is for audience members and for guests too, but I would love to hear people's thoughts on this. How do you approach other organizations? How do you approach other mentors, other nodes in the network who might be offering activities or classes or lessons or programming or services, and get them to buy in to your passion for brokering web literacy, for example? What's useful to take to partner organizations and other partner mentors when you want them to join your cause? What kinds of, what kinds of messages do you use, or what kinds of examples do you use to really convince them that this is something that they want to be a part of?
I think for me it's been about if we are to have programs that are really structured around connected learning and Homago. We can't be sort of isolated from the rest of the context of learning. So whether it's an art organization or a science organization, together we provide a holistic experience for young people at one point or another. And so I think if we are to provide this holistic learning experience, then we have to consider the things that they would learn online. I think lots of community programmers, sometimes it's easy to forget about the online because we're so into the moment of the actual program development and things like that in the real world, that it's very easy to sort of not think about what's happening online and through the web, and how our youth and our current programs sort of a part of that community as well.
I think also building on to what she's saying, always linking back these benefits to the greater community, because if you can, the person that you're networking with, if they could see how their network and their contribution benefits the greater community and benefits them, you can get a better buy-in from that. But mainly, at times, it probably doesn't benefit them. It benefits our greater society and the greater community. So linking back always makes a big difference in them seeing the role of their contribution in context.
Thank you both. Arko, did you want to add anything to that?
Okay, I have already put up an idea which can printing on the share about our stories, like a section of stories where any Mozillian like that. It's not necessarily let that be a club captain or someone. Like even if I'm volunteering for a club, like yeah, I have been taking up along with the club captain for some projects or something. So it's not for the where we submit the club events, post-event reports. We do have that. It's started off. So, but then what about something which can actually take up which is motivating? Like I'm using this kind of if I'm supposed to explain maybe in this valley civilization, I can actually do it by taking up a session maybe using PPTs. But then, well, that makes a difference. I might use maybe a 3D glasses to completely explore the entire thing, maybe on in a 3D vision, the entire in a movie structure to the students, which makes learning easier. So that is a share out of my story which I use. So it's not directly a web tool. It's a story which I am actually using it. So that is something which can add up to other Mozillians. They can also get benefited because I add tags. So suppose if any other Mozillian he's using, let that be not just related to science or technology, it can be history or arts also. So if he or she is using that, wants to actually take up a session on, can actually use that. So or maybe improvise on it, because we actually allow others also to implement and then make a better efficient product out of the own web literacy kit which you are trying to use. So in that way it can be.
Arko seems to be cutting in and out, but what do you have to say about storytelling, kind of giving weight to reasons for using different parts of activities or modules, or initiating different opportunities to broker for youth? Really resonates with me. Amira, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I do. I'm actually thinking about this backwards a little bit. So I'm looking at the question, how do we help youth become more aware of their digital lives? And I'm trying to think, what do youth not know about their online presence or their digital lives that would be worth educating them on? So I'm going to take that backwards approach and ask our speakers and people in the Etherpad to share, what do youth not know about their online presence right now that we can teach them?
Yeah, I think that's actually where I was trying to like think about, because I think when Google Maps came out, it had such a huge impact in the way people saw that the cameras out there recorded their lives at some point. And it was such a big sort of deal to be able to look up any house and find an image, to see if your home, your grandmother's home was outside. Even like a couple weeks ago, my boyfriend's grandmother found out that her image isn't actually outside of her house. So she's like, how did they do that? She freaked out, you know? So I think I don't know exactly if we have that moment anymore, or if that is still sort of a valuable way of being like, do you know that you're online whether you sort of want to or not? We don't have a choice to some extent. There's that. And I'm really into Pokemon Go right now, you guys. And it's kind of great to go outside and see a group of kids that were complete strangers and now are sort of acquaintances or even friends, because they're like, wait, you're playing right now too? Oh, let's share an incense burner. And, people are gathering outside in reality through their connection of the media, right, of this game. So I don't know. I'm sort of, that's where I'm like trying to figure out how can we take advantage of these sort of moments of like curiosity, and spark that conversation there.
That's awesome. You have to like be present when curiosity strikes. That's really cool. And Pokemon Go is like a great example, right? Because you have this social interaction happening, but you also want people to be aware of like what the program is accessing from their phone or from their Google accounts. I didn't mean to butt in though. I'm just seeing Pokemon Go all around me, and I'm very interested in looking at it. Our other guests, what do you think? Where would you begin helping youth where you are become more conscious of their digital lives?
I totally agree, and I'm also going to build on to that. A simple example, last night, my 8-year-old son took a picture, and he wanted to make it a profile picture of something. And I said to him, do you know the possibilities of what happens when you put something as a profile picture? And he's like, no. I'm like, how many people can access that picture and do whatever it is that they want with that picture? And so it's situations like these that make you realize that nothing prepares the youth of today for the online world. So they get into it, open Facebook accounts, all social media accounts, without any knowledge of what are the effects, especially later on in their lives when they start looking for jobs and people pull out their online lives and use that as excuses of not hiring them. So I think starting especially at a young age to kind of take advantage of small things like that you understand when you have a Facebook profile picture, it means anybody can get access to it, and take advantage of those small curiosity moments or moments of especially their social media life to reflect through them on how far it extends. And then you can start working on legal aspects of these companies having access to their private information and them granting them access to further things.
Arco, are you able to join us with voice again? What do you think? Where are some places to begin helping learners figure out their digital presence, their digital lives?
Oh no, I'm not sure if he's frozen, but I have an idea.
Yes.
All right. I'm spinning and I'm reeling from what everyone's talking about, and I'm thinking about the aha moments that we don't realize we have when we jump online and where those still exist. So Brenda, you planted that in my head. You know what I find that still works in that type of moment is when you Google yourself. So many people who Google themselves don't often realize that there's data that already exists about yourself online that you're like, whoa, where did this come from? It could be a soccer league you're part of. It could be soccer is very specific, but it could be like a club you're a part of. It could be, I don't know, like a team, even your school. Those type of moments happen all the time, and I even have them when I Google myself, and I was like, whoa, what are all these other links that are a part of me online? So maybe there's like some sort of an activity where we can work with people to either Google themselves or Google like their family name and see what's happening online, and to have that aha moment to be like, whoa, all of this stuff exists online that I would not have already realized. Is that a way to capture your digital footprint, or kind of understand like what's existing online?
I think it could be. I think maybe it's about gathering a list of opportunities that sort of make that happen, whether it's Googling yourself or looking up your home, or taking a picture for online. Like even I know friends that sometimes like to do the reverse lookup, where you find out where this picture has been. I know it has a name, but and I was also thinking, I wrote it in the Etherpad, about maybe it's also about developing a list of writing questions that people could use to like dive into the conversation when that moment happens. So do you have this moment, but what can you talk about it and how?
Yeah, that's another good spin-off. I like that. Trying to find the actual roots of a picture or an image, that would be actually really tough. I feel like we've got a couple like short or ideas embedded within this greater picture of understanding your digital footprint.
Yeah, this seems pretty pretty mixable. Kind of, it'll be very interesting to like see how we can capture it in our recap blog post. This is fantastic. We had some talk in the chat too about speaking of Pokemon Go and kind of different sorts of media. How does video show up in your communities, guests and audience members, or how does video show up in terms of web literacy instruction or opportunities to use video as part of it in brokered learning opportunities? What does video look like where you are with you?
I think for us, video has been sort of very instrumental, at least with the work I did at Yollocalli, and that's because it's the most approachable media that they see it. I feel like most kids use YouTube a lot for everything, whether it's to listen to music or just see a movie. And so for them, it's easy to sort of get them curious about, well, if you like consuming this, how do you then become a producer like that you enjoy? And so I think video has also been, I think it's sometimes easier than sort of the platform where that video inhabits its state, yeah, so that's all I have.
Chad, can you please ask that question again? I was lost in between the Etherpad and that question.
Oh, absolutely. There were questions and some talk in the chat about video and web literacy. So just asking, how does video show up as part of either learners' kind of digital online lives, or what are learning opportunities for video production or using video in the web like where you are?
Okay, I think it depends on the role that you wanted to play. For example, one of the tasks that I gave the club members was to create a video on a specific topic area. And so they would just use simple, normal phones to create that. And I also showed them like previous students, because I had given this test to my university students, and they came up with brilliant videos, and they put this up on YouTube. And so that was a typical example of what those videos, the fact that those videos are forever going to be there online. I mean, this can link back to many other young people's videos that they've put online that have later gotten them into trouble. So I think that's a good opportunity to link it back building on to what she was saying, to show how this is like it stays forever. And so the video can also be used as a learning opportunity and a learning tool within the classroom, depending on how you want to use it within the different sessions for web literacy. As for YouTube, not everybody has access to it, so it depends on if you have access to it and how you can use it to benefit your different clubs and the society that you're helping.
Thank you. So I've been looking at the pad and struggling mightily to think of a way to summarize such an incredible document today. Some things that are kind of popping out for me. Ani has talked about like the death of the browser, and so when I think about finding myself online, whether it's figuratively or metaphorically, or doing a Google search or reverse image search, interesting to think about that as being an outmoded practice, and it's more about maybe like branding across apps or something like that. And I wonder, how much I need to learn from people who are doing that, especially from youth. Looking at all the different ways people are suggesting kind of helping youth through video, through apps, through using some of the remix tools that Mozilla's put together and others have put together in the past. This is just a fantastic document. I love how it defies easy summation. But with the time remaining, I did want to give everyone kind of a chance to offer their own summations about what they're thinking. So I'm just going to remind everybody that we have an upcoming Summer Learning Day on July 14th, and we're proposing a learning challenge for that day. You can find out more about that at the bottom of this Etherpad. There's a link there. And the challenge is to kind of teach or learn a web literacy skill on that day with us. Our next community call is on Wednesday, July 27th. We're going to be talking about brokering learning opportunities again with new guests, new insights, and I hope everyone on this call will join us for that one and kind of bring some of the energy, the verve, the love from this call into that. Our Learning and Making Teach the Web chat is going to be on July 28th, and you can follow at MozLearn for more details. And we're working on something for the curriculum workshop in August. It might be something a little bit different. So keep following along, and we'll have more information on that soon. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who made today's call mind-boggling in the best way possible. And I'm going to hand things back to Amira to bring us to final thoughts.
Yeah, Chad, my friend, you did like a good job of trying to summarize this, because I'm still digging into these comments, and they're still rolling in, which is incredible. So a huge appreciation for everyone, both on this call as a speaker and in the chat, because this has been so very engaging that I've never gotten this lost in an Etherpad, which is a bold statement because I've been in a lot of Etherpads. So I am like quite reeling over here. Thank you everyone for joining us. I do want to pass it off to the speakers to say a couple minutes each on, or even a minute on just, where your brain's at, what are you thinking, are you excited, how's it going on Digital Footprint, where you might be able to take this work or use it within your own setting, and kind of just any summations you might have from the day. So I'm going to go backwards from where I started. Arco, do you want to go first and give us a quick thought on just what's going on in your head and where you might use this going forward?
I couldn't get you. Can you just come back once again?
Yeah, just some quick last-minute thought as we close out on just how all of this comes back to your work and where you might be able to use any of this in the future. If you want, we can give you a couple moments and we can come back to you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Maki, do you want to close out with your last comment?
I think this was a great session, and I think the Etherpad, going through it, the different resources that people put out there, it's a great space where people can come in and take things that can really benefit their communities, and also learning from each other, having these videos, because I was just before the session listening to your previous workshop. It's a great space where we can learn and share with each other. That's my 2 words of thought from Cape Town.
Thank you, Maki. Brenda, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting that we're this sort of mind-boggled. And that means we're getting to like a core value or idea that sort of unfolds in everything. So I'm really excited to see where this goes, and I hope that um, we really produce a good tool and resource for people to use. I think we hit an important issue.
Awesome, thank you. Arco, we're gonna roll back to you. Final thoughts?
Yeah, so like it was definitely a great part. Curriculum workshop was definitely it's motivating enough. So looking forward to work on better projects and get it back with.
Damn internet gods. All right, thank you, Arco. We do have a bunch of links and resources on line 182 down. Our lovely friends at Hive Research Lab who weren't able to join us actually have created some papers and reports on brokering learning. So if you are interested in reading more about brokering learning, there's links there. And Brenda's also dropped some more Hamajo links and guidebooks and Facebook group links. So please check those out, and if you have any others to share, you are welcome to drop them there. Thank you so much for everyone joining our call today. There's been so much. I'm still going to be going through this Etherpad after this and seeing how we can move this forward. And I think if I speak for Chad and myself, we've got some new activity ideas coming at you, especially ones focused on digital footprint, which is very important. So thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye.